Hello, my name is Carrie Brown and I'm with the Central Mississippi Regional Library System. Today I'm going to be reading to you chapters 5, 6, and 7 of A to Z Mysteries, The Runaway Racehorse. Written by Ron Roy, illustrated by John Stephen Gurney, published by Random House, New York. Chapter 5. A hand on his shoulder woke Dink from a sound sleep. The light next to his bed was on. The black stallion lay on the bed covers still opened. Through sleepy eyes he looked into his uncle's face. "Morning, Donnie," Uncle Warren said quietly. "Time to get up." "Hi, Uncle Warren," Dink said. "You boys have to hop to it," Uncle Warren said. "Forrest wants to get on the road right after breakfast." He smiled at Dink and left the room. Dink tossed his pillow over at Josh's bed, then walked into the bathroom. Josh grumbled, but soon they were both dressed and headed for the kitchen. Forrest and Ruth Rose were sitting at the table eating oatmeal. Uncle Warren took a pot off the stove and filled bowls for Dink and Josh. "Everyone sleep all right?" Forrest asked. "I did," Ruth Rose said. She spooned some brown sugar over her cereal. Today her color was purple. Purple leggings, purple blouse, purple headband, purple sneakers. "Me too," Dink said, "except for Josh's snoring all night." They ate quickly, then left the house and piled into Forrest's car. Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose sat in the back seat. They each had their books, and Josh brought his pillow. Forrest turned out of his driveway and drove through Larchmont. After making a few turns, he was on a wide highway. Dink saw a sign that said Albany, 120 miles. A few hours later, they arrived in Saratoga Springs. Forrest pulled his car into a parking lot. They all climbed out of the car and stretched their legs. Under tall trees, Dink saw long green barns. Near the barns, men and women were grooming horses, feeding horses, exercising horses. There were horses everywhere. Ruth Rose took pictures of horses and one of a barn with the sun shining on the green wood. "Let's go find Sunny," Forrest suggested. "She'll be in barn E, stall number 21. They cut through some trees, following a large, wide path. Barns stood on both sides of the path. Each barn had a large letter painted on one side. The gravel walkway was crowded with people. Some were walking horses, others were just looking. "There's barn E," Josh said, sprinting ahead. Forrest, Uncle Warren, and the kids found Sunny outside stall 21. She had one foot on a bale of hay and was buffing her riding boot with a cloth. A can of black boot polish sat on the floor. "Hi, Sunny," Forrest said. Sunny wore white riding pants. Her silk racing shirt was green with the yellow stripes on the arms. Circling her left arm was a cloth band with the number 21 stitched on. Her hair was tucked up under a hard hat covered in yellow silk. Oval-shaped goggles rested on the hat's visor. Sunny dropped the cloth and smiled. "Hi, everyone," she said. "Any problems?" Forrest asked. "He didn't want to walk into the trailer this morning," Sunny said. "And he definitely didn't like me getting him ready once we got here." "Good morning, Whirlaway," Forrest said to his horse. "Why are you giving Sunny a hard time, eh, boy?" Everyone peered into the stall. Whirlaway was standing in a corner with his eyes on the newcomers. "He looks terrific, Sunny," Forrest said. "Nice job." Sunny had brushed Whirlaway's coat till it gleamed. The white tape she'd wrapped around his ankles looked snowy against his nearly black coat. "Why do you wear goggles?" Ruth Rose asked Sunny. "To protect my eyes," Sunny said. "During races, the horses in front of me kick up dirt. You should see me when I race in the rain, totally covered in mud." "What time is the race?" Dink asked. "We're in the second one," Sunny said. 2 o'clock. "We'll be cheering you on," Uncle Warren said. "Can I take a picture of you and Whirlaway?" Ruth Rose asked. "Sure," Sunny said. She walked into the stall and put her hand on Whirlaway's halter. Whirlaway rolled his eyes at her and threw his head back. "Ruth Rose is right," thought Dink. "Whirlaway doesn't like Sunny at all." Ruth Rose snapped a picture. Chapter 6. "Okay, gang, let's go grab our seats," Forrest said. To get to Forrest's private box, they had to climb up 3 flights of stairs. Throngs of people filled the grandstand. Music was playing, and everyone seemed to be having a good time. The viewing box had a row of seats under a little roof. On both sides were other private boxes. Straight ahead was a perfect view of the starting gate and oval racetrack. "How long is the race?" Josh asked. Twice around the track, Forrest said. A stack of race programs was on one seat. Forrest handed them out. Whirlaway's on page 2, he said. The kids quickly checked and found Whirlaway's name. Sonny was listed as Whirlaway's jockey. This is so exciting, Ruth Rose said. She set her camera on the floor under her chair. A waiter wearing a white jacket came and took their lunch order. They made it simple for him. 5 cheeseburgers, 5 lemonades. Where did the horses end up? Josh asked. At the finish line, Uncle Warren said. Down there behind the starting gate. The waiter brought their food. As they ate, they watched a group of horses and their riders come out onto the track. Some of the horses were bucking and prancing. The jockeys were outfitted in bright colors. Each rider wore goggles like Sonny's. The horses were white, gray, black, and several shades of brown. One was a golden palomino. Down below the owners' boxes, people were lined up along the track fence. They began cheering when they saw the horses at the starting gate. Suddenly, a man's voice came over the speakers. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, he cried. The first race is about to begin. While he called out the name of the horses and the jockeys, the riders moved their horses up to the starting gate. Then a loud bell sounded and the horses burst onto the track. The jockeys stood in the stirrups, their heads bent low over the horses' necks. The crowd shouted and cheered. Even above the noise, the kids could hear the thunder of the hooves on the track. Clumps of dirt flew into the air behind each horse. And it's Mary Mary in the lead, the announcer exclaimed. Starburst is a length behind. Cranberry Sauce is third. Then it was over. A white horse had rocketed across the finish line first. And it's Mary Mary by half a length, yelled the announcer. As the kids watched, the jockey pranced Mary Mary to the winner's circle. A woman wearing a dress and a wide hat presented the jockey with a trophy. A man in a suit beamed and posed for a picture. That's the horse's owner, Forrest informed the kids. Is our race next? Dink asked, checking his program. Yes, in just a few minutes, Forrest said. He pointed to the track. The horses are coming out already. 3 kids stood up. Which one is Whirlaway? Ruth Rose said, getting her camera ready. There are a lot of dark horses with white marks on their forehead. Forrest pointed over her shoulder. In front of the white horse, he said. See Sonny's yellow hat? And you can see the big 21 on Whirlaway's saddle blanket. The horses and riders approached the starting gate. When the announcer shouted, Number 21 is Whirlaway, ridden by Sonny Fields, Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose cheered. Ruth Rose snapped a picture. Forrest put 2 fingers in his mouth and whistled. Then the announcer's voice boomed over the loudspeakers. Now the second race, an even dozen beauties out there. Then the starting bell sounded, and the race was on. The crowd began yelling, but didn't drown out the announcer's voice. What a sight, folks! Fancy Pants is out front. High Five is next. Here comes Pretty Balloon on the outside. And look at this! Dancer is sneaking up on Pretty Balloon. He's passing High Five. Dancer is in the lead. Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose were on their feet. They jumped and yelled, Come on, Whirlaway! But Whirlaway was nowhere near the front. Number 21 was second to last as the horses barreled toward the finish line. By the time the race was over, Whirlaway had fallen back even more. He came in dead last. The kids sat down disappointed. Forrest stared at the racetrack. What happened? Uncle Warren said. Forrest shook his head. Whirlaway has never run so badly, he said. There's something wrong. Chapter 7. Well, he tried, Uncle Warren said, laying his hand on Forrest's shoulder. I know I can't expect Whirlaway to win every race, Forrest agreed, but he's never run this poorly. Can we go see him? Dink asked. Sure, Forrest said, checking his watch. Meet us back here in about 15 minutes, okay? The kids clambered down the grandstand steps and ran toward the barns. They entered Barn E and walked past curious horses peering from stalls. There's Whirlaway, Josh said, pointing. The horse, slick with sweat, was tied outside stall 21. Sonny was wiping him down with towels. Sonny looked up and nodded at the kids. I'm sorry you didn't win, Ruth Rose said. Not as sorry as I am, Sonny muttered. Her outfit was filthy. She had removed her helmet and her hair hung down, damp and straggly. Where her goggles had been, her face was clean. The rest was smeared with sweat and track grime. Her once shiny black boots were now brown with dust. Sonny knelt down and began unwinding the tape from Whirlaway's legs. The tape was grimy. Sonny shook her head as she worked. Whirlaway was running like a different horse, she said. She walked away to find a trash can for the soiled tapes, leaving Whirlaway tied to his stall. Maybe Whirlaway was just tired. Maybe, Ruth Rose agreed, but jockeys can make horses go slower. Josh looked at Ruth Rose. You think Sonny made Whirlaway lose the race? Ruth Rose shrugged. I don't know. Sonny came back and untied Whirlaway. She had to tug him up the ramp. He rolled his eyes as she walked him into the trailer. Sonny closed and latched the trailer door. Without saying a word, she climbed into the cab and drove away. Something weird is definitely going on between Whirlaway and Sonny, Ruth Rose said. Whirlaway might just be having a bad day, Dink said. Ruth Rose looked at her watch. We'd better get back, she said. They started walking toward the viewing stands. Dink noticed a small group of people gathered around a dark horse and its rider. There's the winner, he said. Yeah, Dancer, said Josh. I want to get a picture, Ruth Rose said. The kids walked to the winner's circle. They wiggled through the crowd until they were standing next to Dancer. Dancer's chest and legs were sweaty. The white tape that covered his ankles was dirty. The jockey was dirty too. He smiled as people took pictures. A man wearing a cowboy hat and dark glasses reached up and shook the jockey's hand. Well done, Andy, he said. Piece of cake, Mr. B, the jockey answered. Guys, move closer, Ruth Rose said. I want to get a picture of you and Dancer. Dink and Josh stepped over and stood in front of Dancer. Josh giggled when the horse butted him gently in the back. The jockey flicked the reins, and Dancer put his head between Dink's and Josh's shoulders. Ruth Rose snapped the picture. Her camera made a whirring noise, letting her know that the roll of film had run out. Dink looked at his watch. Come on, guys, they're waiting for us. They hurried away and found Forrest and Uncle Warren in the viewing box. How does Whirlaway look? Forrest asked. Tired, Josh said. Sonny loaded him and they took off. I guess we'd better leave too, Forrest said. They headed for the parking lot. Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose walked behind Forrest and Uncle Warren. Ruth Rose held up her camera. I can't wait to get my film developed, she whispered. I think that last picture is a big clue. Thank you. Be sure to tune in for chapters 8, 9, and 10. Goodbye.